The Wildcats crushed Erie Strong Vincent as they went to 4-0 with a 40-0 shutout over the Strong Vincent Colonels on Saturday. They moved to 4-0 on 2012, and they prepare for a defensive challenge and the triple option of the Erie McDowell Trojans. Welcome to the Ignatius Broadcasting Networks across the table, our Week 5 preview. Greg Seiden, I'm John Fanza, and we will be with you Friday night. We have Friday night high school football this week, Greg. A little bit of a change of culture for the Wildcats.
Well, it is, but it's nice. It's something that the Wildcats don't get to experience a whole lot playing on Friday nights, and this is the only Friday night game of the season, so it should be a good one, and of course, homecoming the next day on Saturday.
Yes, that's the main reason why, as many of guys will be coming back here on Saturday night for the homecoming, as the whole school will be packed, so obviously football game being on Friday works out conveniently. But the Wildcats take on a Trojan team, Greg, that comes in here now 2-1. A team that is a different team than the Erie Strong Vincent Colonels. So it's a different strategy that they run, and they are more fundamentally sound.
They're similar to the Strong Vincent Colonels on offense as far as the offense they run. McDowell Trojans are going to run a triple option. The Colonels ran a wing T, so primarily running offenses. Other than that, not too many comparisons. This Erie McDowell team is much stronger. They're 2-1 on the year. Their only loss is to Menor, and really they had a good opportunity to win that game. They were winning in the fourth quarter. Menor had a couple scores late to eke out a 34-27 win over the Trojans, but a very solid team all around. With that triple option, they pile up a lot of rushing yards, and then you look at their defense. They hold Menor to 27, and that's a very solid defense with a surprisingly good secondary.
Mitch Trubisky, normally great, but on that night, Erie McDowell, he was flustered many different times. They put him in third and long situations, and after that third quarter, 21-12, McDowell found themselves up and in an excellent spot to then go ahead and eventually, Greg, it would help them out with playoff points and different things like that. They were looking at a big win and licking their chops for it. Well, next thing you know, Mitch Trubisky explodes, and Menor ends up coming away, sneaking out of Erie. But that's what the Wildcats have to avoid this Friday, and they face the wing T of the Trojans. Talk about how that works.
Well, the triple option from the Trojans for McDowell, when you think about it, they're going to line up in a very tight formation. The wide receivers are going to be close to the line. You're going to have the two ends, back behind the quarterback, and it's called the triple option. There are three options. The quarterback can run, he can hand it off to the back, or he can pitch it to one of the ends. So the Wildcats, in facing this like the wing T, you've got to maintain your gaps, you've got to hold on to your assignments, you've got to be very disciplined, and if the Wildcats can not give up big plays against this offense, they should be in good shape.
It's very similar to that Strong Vincent style, and it actually works out in the schedule for Coach Chuck Kyle. He talked about it earlier, facing Shane Morris and Trubisky in back-to-back weeks. Well, now you faced two very similar offenses, and oddly enough, they're both in Erie, so the Wildcats will be traveling back on the road once again, and playing a Friday night game, you have to be thinking about not coming out sluggish. The Wildcats' defense, at times, Greg, if there's one thing that we've seen, it says some teams have been able to run through the middle of the field and power through the middle gap. So that's going to be interesting to watch, because that's all McDowell really will go to. That's most of the bulk of their offense.
And interestingly enough, looking at last week's game, maybe the one weakness the Wildcat defense had was giving up that fullback dive up the middle to the Colonels from Strong Vincent. And obviously when you look at a triple option, the Trojans are going to try and run that play quite a bit, as well as running a little bit more to the outside or pitching with the quarterback of the ends. But still, that'll be a really point of emphasis in practice this week, and the Wildcats are going to have to work on stopping that run up the middle, because if you can't stop that, what can you stop?
They will be challenged offensively by this Colonel defense, by this Trojan defense, however, and when you look at this defense, Greg, they will jab the opposing receivers at the line right away. They are physical from the point of attack, and that's how this defense operates. And it's a little bit strange because their secondary is strong, but we were talking about in an earlier, partner, the fact that the Wildcats come out here with a very pass-oriented offense. Well, the Trojans in practice, they're running anything but that.
Yeah, it really is kind of odd that you look at the Trojans and in practice their defense is going to be going up against an offense that's running the triple option. I guess that means they just have a really good scout offense that can pass. But you look at it, their secondary really was tremendous against Menor, like you said, jamming the wide receivers, giving Mitch Trubisky trouble, and even when he had time to throw, a lot of times he just couldn't find anybody open against the McDowell defense.
But a key so far this season has been the Wildcats' pace of the game and how they control and wear down the opponent after they get up on them quickly, and then from there it's keep on going with the left hand, right hand jab, and then take them down finally. That's been the Wildcats' strategy, is to come out with a quick start and wear down the opponent, and that's something that Mentor did not do against McDowell. They came away with a win, but because they sped up the pace of the game in the fourth quarter, Erie McDowell had trouble with that.
Yeah, but you mentioned coming out of the gates quickly. It's something the Wildcats have done all year this season in their 4 games. Offensively and defensively, the Wildcats have started off hot. And if you can do that against a team like this that runs the triple option, doesn't have a passing game, if you can establish a big lead, you really put them in a tight spot if you force them to pass or force them to hurry up their offense. So the Wildcats are going to look to get out to a lead, and if they can, you got to like their chances.
Your players to watch in this ball game? Anything that you'd like to see from the Wildcats this week that you think they could have exposed on the Trojans?
Well, on offense, for the Wildcats, you look at the Trojans' defense, not a whole lot of gaps to exploit, but you got to look for Tim McVeigh to be used creatively, not just running the ball, but we haven't seen a whole lot of the swing passes to him, but when the Wildcats have gone to that this year, they'll be open. You think there'd be some of that open on Friday as well. And then on defense, I'm really looking at the Wildcats linebackers because they're the key against the triple options. They're the ones that have to close the outside, and then if the Trojans run up the middle, they're the ones that have to stop it before it gets to the next level.
I've got a couple. I think that Rocky Zingali, once again, he's been an impact player that many have overlooked early on this season, but Rocky has been outstanding, reeling in passes left and right from Lamanna, and has been Lamanna's one of his main targets. Obviously, there are several. So Zingali, on the defensive side of the ball, Dave Katusha will be challenged this week by that opposing offensive line. And at the very least, what Katusha does to you, he takes up linemen with him. So he can be double-teamed, and for some teams, triple-teamed, Greg, because he's a big man in the middle.
He is, and we really this season haven't said his name a whole lot because he's been double and occasionally triple-teamed, so he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunity to make the plays himself. But when you've got Katusha taking up 2, sometimes 3 blockers, that opens up so many more lanes for the linebackers. We've seen Matt Golick and Kevin Kavlik at defensive ends have big games, and then, of course, the linebackers. You got C.J. Hagg, Nick Chapek, Kyle Berger. You know, they haven't been doing anything short of excellent either. So you've got to give Katusha some of the credit for that.
In every game as well, the Wildcats have had the field position advantage too, Greg. Now, you give this McDowell offense a long field, and if they work it to success, they're going to wear you down, and that is tough for an opposing defense because they're not really getting off the field. But if you're able to stop them at their own 20, then they punt away in this Wildcat offense, and they end up with good field position, Mike Lamanna's been automatic.
We've seen what this offense can do with short fields, and just look at last week. The Wildcats in the first half, for the first team offense, all 5 of their drives started either at midfield or in opposing territory. 4 of them were touchdowns. They had 1 3-and-out, but they've been successful with long fields. If the Wildcats have a special teams advantage in short fields, this could be a very high-scoring ball game.
Yeah, if you're giving the Wildcats the ball deep in your own territory right now, it doesn't bode well at all.
No, that's usually not going to help your defense.
So the Wildcats will take on the Trojans on Friday night at 7:30. We will get kicked off with the Prudential Lucian Realty pregame show at 7 p.m. We'll have Twitter updates throughout the game. Greg and I will have the call. And the Wildcats soccer team has a huge showdown with the St. Edward Eagles. They renew their rivalry tomorrow night at St. Edward. That is Wednesday night, 8 o'clock start time, in prime time action, and a lot of impact players on both sides.
That's really going to be a tremendous game. The 2 highest-ranked teams in the state, obviously they're rivals as well. The game's at St. Ed's, and it really should be a great atmosphere. A lot of tickets already been sold. That place is going to be packed, and it's going to be a fun night.
Wildcat soccer team down the Hudson Explorers on Saturday as they beat them 4-1. As Nate Fay had his 25th goal of his career, Ty Sanda with his 20th of his career as a Wildcat soccer player. And the Wildcats, obviously, in soccer, if you haven't heard yet, Coach Mike McLaughlin and the program are nearing that 500-300 mark where they will have 500 wins as a program, and Coach McLaughlin will have 300 as a coach here, as he has been coaching since now the 90s and has been an outstanding asset to this program, and the leader of it has taken it to new heights. So that's been certainly encouraging as we continue to watch this program grow every day.
Oh, exactly. Day by day, year by year, the soccer program kind of gets overshadowed by football at times just because of the nature of the two sports. But you can't overlook what the soccer team's done, John. 5 state championships. They've been in 4 straight state title games, I believe, and really just another great part of St. Ignatius High School.
So the Wildcats and Eagles from Coghlan Field over at St. Edward, 8 o'clock Wednesday nights, and then the Wildcat football team heads to Erie again, looking to continue their dominance, Greg. They're 4-0, and they take on the Trojans. Friday night, 7:30, pregame show on the SIBN at 7 p.m. Greg and I will have the call. We head back to Erie once again, this time for the Trojans, the triple option, and a defense that can be tough. See you Friday night, everybody.